Curtis Samuel, been sneaky in fantasy. Wide receiver 40, 8.8 points per game. Left early, though, last week in week 8 with a toe injury. So what can you tell us?
Yes, he also did not practice today with that toe injury. Rivera downplaying the severity, saying it's soreness. So at this time, kind of like Hopkins, really not overly concerned. Again, I understand there's been plenty of players in the past who have really struggled with toe injuries, but there's also been plenty of players in the past who have not struggled. That said, with Samuel, the difference that I see with Samuel and Hopkins is just their their uh, their position as or their ranking as receivers. Like Hopkins has been elite his whole career. I understand this year he's not as elite, but he's still shown that he's got it in him. Samuel's always been a role player. So with that, I would expect him to see maybe more of a reduction in snaps secondary to the injury because he's their number 3 receiver. They don't need to rely on him. So when that's the case, teams will typically give the player more rest, less snaps in the games when they return. So I know you said Samuel's kind of a fringe flex player. I would advise against playing him this week if he does suit up, but I don't think at this time that this is a major injury.
Okay, but kind of enough to tip the scale towards benching him, just enough. Okay, that's fair because he really is right on the fringe. He's been a guy that you could just kind of throw in if you have 2 flexes or even in like a PPR league, averaging just about 9 a game, which won't kill you. But he has been, Tom, you said that he's their wide receiver 3, which is factual on paper, but I think this year they've been using him as an RB, or excuse me, as a wide receiver too. He's been involved. And last week, Commanders kept up with your boys, with the Eagles. We had finally from this team our first productive game from Dotson, who, if Samuel's out, and only if Samuel's out, which doesn't seem like it, I would play Dotson this week, but otherwise I'm super nervous about him. Jamison Crowder got involved, of all people. 7 catches for 95 and a touchdown. You had Terry getting 12 targets, and the Birds continue to cook. A.J. Brown in that game, man, recorded his 6th straight game with a $125, breaking Calvin Johnson's record. Pretty crazy, man. He's
amazing.
He's special, absolutely special. Would you play, because I'm a little bit biased because I have Dotson, and I've sat Dotson all year, Tom. And actually, excuse me, let me correct that. I've played him all year, sat him last week, and he goes off last week. What do I do with this, man? What the heck do I do? Can I play him this week? It depends on my options, but say I have him and like Joshua Palmer in my main league. What am I doing?
I would probably go Palmer in that situation, but it's close.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Whatever decision I make will be the wrong one. I subbed in Cam Akers for him last week, who scored a touchdown, but Dotson outscored him by a good amount, and I took the loss because of that move. And as I was in the car making that move, Britt literally said, whatever you're thinking about, do the opposite. And I didn't. Britt's always right.
You got to listen to her.
She's always right. Yeah. Also, shout out to my good friend Jesse, who pushed me over the edge to make that decision, which gave me a loss. Love you, Jesse. And Tom, I love you too. Next player is, we have 3 left, Kendrick Bourne, knee, and he is on the IR now. He's another guy, wide receiver 28 this year, been sneaky, 10.2 points per game, but sounds like he is done for the year.
He tore his ACL, so he is done for the year. His season is over. Hopefully he can get surgery soon. We know sometimes these surgeries get delayed if there's too much swelling, thinking Saquon Barkley, I think even Kyler Murray, Michael Gallup, their surgeries were all delayed about a month. And we got to remember the timeline for returning from an ACL, which is typically like 9 months plus, that doesn't start the day of injury. That starts the day of surgery. So hopefully he can get in there as soon as possible. We know the factors that influence a player's readiness for week 1 the following year after ACL. Age is one. He's 28 now, so that's not working in his favor. It's not really working against his favor. It's really a push. Time, again, he hasn't had surgery yet. Hopefully he gets in there this week, in which case it would be about 10 months. Again, that's enough to be ready, but it's like I would like a few more weeks, so that's kind of a push as well. By all reports, it's only an ACL tear, no other tissues involved. That's very much in his favor. And then lastly, are they a freak athlete or not? And like he's a nice athlete. I wouldn't say that he's built different though. So unfortunately, I genuinely wonder if he'll ever be relevant for fantasy again. I could see him returning as like a wide receiver 4 on a team, maybe 3 on a bad receiving group. But I don't. The age is the thing here. Like he's going to be 29 next year. That's tough to come back from an ACL at that age. So, and being a good, not great receiver his whole career, I genuinely wonder if he'll ever be relevant for fantasy again.
Fair points. Tough to hear that. He's a guy that I think is rosterable on an NFL team, like you said. Good guy to have in a wide receiver room and maybe at the end of your fantasy bench. But Tom, right now I'm looking at the Patriots depth chart, and guys, it's week 9, yes, but there's a lot of weeks left in the season, and the ball has to go somewhere. Like Kendrick, Bourne, like Mac Jones and the Patriots aren't very good, but they have to throw the ball somewhere. This is kind of a cliche, or not cliche, a very basic take. The word is slipping me here. A lot of people, including myself, like Demario Douglas. I think go check right now, guys, on your waivers. At least roster him. Put him at the end of your bench. Saw 7 targets with his opportunity, caught 5 of them. Because the rest of this room is just a bunch of I'm going to read you these names, Tom. Just the most standard, mediocre wide receivers of all time. Juju Smith-Schuster, Jalen Reagor, Kendrick Bourne, Pharaoh Brown, Devontae Parker. Did I say Jalen Reagor? I think I said that. Kayshon Boutte, Trey Nix. The ball's got to go somewhere. I'm not saying Demario Douglas is a stud, but you got to give him a look, pick him up. Even their tight ends, Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Pharaoh Brown. It's just the most experienced team of all time. But again, ball's got to go to somebody. And, I do think it's going to be Douglas, and we wish the best for Bourne.